Yeah, hello and welcome to the Basketball Addicts Podcast, the one
Whew.
podcast in the world that answers the question that everybody want to know. And I'm gonna change it up this time because we're talking about the NBA draft. How you gonna hate from outside the NBA draft when you can't even get in? I know it's kind of
Facts.
mean, but I still gotta stay to our original brand. I'm sorry for those who are
Yeah.
undrafted. I hope you make it, but that's just us. I'm sorry.
Best of luck.
Best of
Best
luck
of
to you.
luck.
G League is nice.
Yep.
Overseas is also nicer.
Hey, you still making more money than we'll ever make in our lives, so congratulations.
Facts. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not no hate. It's not no shade. It's just it's us. If you listen to us,
Yeah.
you know what it is. I'm sorry. I hope you don't feel offended. It's just us. Best of luck to you. Anyway, so how you gonna hit from outside the draft? I mean, not the draft. How you gonna hit from outside the NBA when you can't even get in? Anyway, so today we're gonna have a quick episode just talking about some of the 5 winners and the 5 losers of the NBA draft. We don't want to go through all 58. That's gonna take a long time. You guys don't really want to hear that. If you do, I mean, hey, listen, tell us. Well, maybe we'll make an episode about that. Who knows? But anyway,
Yeah.
right now we're just gonna do a 5 winners, 5 losers. Keep it real short and simple. Who we think won the NBA draft and who we think are just suck at their job and need to fire the whole entire front office. Sacramento Kings. Utah Jazz. I don't want to say any names. Cough, cough. But anyway, Dan Gilbert, give up your job. Anyway, wait, is it David Griffin? There it is, David Griffin.
Yeah, David Griffin.
David Griffin. Yeah. Anyway, this is like where Jason like kind of shuts me up and takes off. So here you go. 5 winners, 5 losers. Take it away, Jay.
All right, the number one winner in the draft. Some people absolutely killed the draft. There's 3 teams that just did a magnificent job. The number one team is the Oklahoma City Thunder because now you can see the puzzle pieces going together. So what they did in the draft is Chet Holmgren, another 2 pick. Now I would have drafted Jabari Smith Jr., but he was the 4th guy. My big boy, I can understand it. It wasn't a terrible draft pick, but what they did was really well. They traded 3 first round draft picks for Osman Deng at the number 11. Now, when you're the Thunder and you are stockpiling picks like it's preparing for D-Day, you can live with overpaying for the 11th pick when you have a gazillion picks. That's what having all those picks is for. Going for a guy that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And at number 12, they got a guy I like a lot. They got both Jalen Williamses, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, they got a guy at number 12 that I love a lot, 2 guard from Santa Clara. It's number 10, big guy, my big board. And number 34, they got the other Jalen Williams, 6'10", power forward / center from Alabama. And he is really, really good. Really, really, really good. I really liked him a lot, switchable and all those type of things. And the reason why I have 100%, and the reason why I love their draft is you can see where they're going as a team, and it's the thing that we've talked about in the offseason. You remember when we talked about the Golden State Warriors, and we were like, man, the thing that for some reason, nobody really noticed about the Warriors that made them great was passing.
Mm-hmm.
They are great passers. Look at the Spurs. Man, they really pass the basketball.
That ball movement.
This team... Yes, this team is special moving forward. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Let's just go position by position. Point guard. One, the guy's a 25 point per game scorer. You got a star there. He's a good passer. 6 to 7 assists per game guy. Like, he's a really good passer.
Mm-hmm.
At the 2 guard now, you have Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. Now, if you didn't watch my NBA draft stuff, you would have heard me compare him to James Harden passing-wise. Me saying he was by and far away the best passer at the 2 guard position by a gazillion miles. And had the highest basketball IQ, or like high scoring IQ, and really understands the game. All right, so those 2 paired together is great passing. They drafted Josh Giddey last year he's a point forward, rotational guard that is a great passer, right? He's like really, really gifted passing the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
6'8". Jalen Williams is 6'5", and then they get Osman Deng, which most people may not understand, but the reason why I like that fit is he's a good passer. He's a point forward type, a perimeter shot creator passer. And then you have Chet, who's a good passer at the center position, and I'm looking at that team, and I'm like, wow. You just made one Jalen Williams off the bench is a good passer as well, but he's a good defender, a good rim runner, good backup power forward / center. He's going to be really good for them defensively, but the reason why I'm like really liking it, one, Osman Deng 6'9", so he can be your power forward in the future. And these guys are going to fit so well passing the basketball together. This is a gifted passing team.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it before. Greatness is usually brought out of having extreme strengths of your basketball team. Look at the Warriors. We have an extreme strength. We have the best perimeter shot create, best shooting backcourt of all time, right? Those two separate may not be as great as those two together because of the way they distress the defense. Look at the Boston Celtics. They got two wing death guys over there that guard everybody, and two perimeter ISO guys that can go get you a bucket. That's a strength of their team for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What you built here is a team that is the best passing team in the league, gifts wise. I mean, I'm not going to be. It's not that crazy to say that on their own teams in about 5 years, every guy on this team could average at least 5 assists. Not named Chet. Osman Dane could average 5 assists. Josh Giddey could average 9 or 10. Like, he's really gifted passing the basketball. Jalen Williams would be a 6 to 7 to 8 pass assists per game guy for me, and Shea could be 5 years from now 7 to 8. Like, you put all those guys together, and now we're talking team that actually plays team basketball and passing and has length and athleticism and shot creation and, you know, enough scoring. And, you know, it may be that that Thunder's GM learned from the past of having a little bit of an inefficient pairing with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And maybe wanted to move to this type of team moving forward. Now, their head coach isn't the kind of like Spurs Warriors head coach where they're running a whole passing, off-ball cutting type of scheme. They need to get a guy like a Mike Brown in there, like an Ime Udoka in there, a guy that's going to run that scheme to fit this team. But as long as they get the right head coach, this could become something special. And, you know, it's not like each pick they knocked out of the house in like a home run pick of just value per position. But each pick fit a scheme and a vision of passing and team basketball that's really going to be something special moving forward with. It's really intriguing. And I feel like head coach, as long as they replace that head coach with somebody who really runs that kind of system, this team could be special moving forward.
So how I see this is just that we need to start giving Sam Presti his flowers right away.
Yeah, he's good.
Like, he drafted 3 MVPs, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's drafted exactly what his team needs moving forward. I mean, modern NBA outside of Toronto and the Warriors, or is it the Clippers who has Jerry West? I think it's the Warriors. Warriors have Jerry West.
The Clippers have Jerry West right now, but they used to have Jerry West. Warriors used to have West in the front office.
They're advisor. The best at. These are the best GMs right now. They're doing a phenomenal job. It's just you got to give Sam Presti his flowers.
Yeah. You're thinking of Bob Snyder or Bob something. Bob. The first name's Bob for the Warriors GM.
Yeah, these guys got to get their flowers.
Yeah, sure. The Nuggets GM does a great job too.
Yeah,
even though they didn't do well this year in the draft, surprisingly.
Yeah, they got everything they needed last year and then traded it away. So
yeah, it's really interesting, man. So yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Congratulations to people who are Oklahoma City fans. You've been sitting through the terribleness for the past few years. I get it, but you got something moving forward. Mm-hmm. You really do. And I'm really happy and excited to see where things move in the future because it's a team that got a lot of things that fit. Yeah, I really like this team. All right. You ready to transition to the next team?
Yeah.
Now, in most years, this team would be the team that knocked it out of the park. I just view what Oklahoma City Thunder did as beauty in action. Houston Rockets. Dear goodness. You would talk about the luckiest team in the draft. Getting Jabari Smith Jr. at 3. The one guy on my big board, the guy compared to Paul George. He's that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And then they knocked it out of the park with the second pick, choosing my number 1 small forward in the draft, Tari Eason, 6'8", 3-and-D guy. At the worst case scenario, you're getting Trevor Ariza there. Best case scenario, you're getting a 20-point per game scorer from the small forward position because he does flash a lot of shot creation for himself from multiple different spots. And and getting Ty Washington at number, what was it, 19, 29, and he's a point guard, right? He's a point guard from Kentucky that was my number 3 point. No, my bad. Number 2 point guard in my draft, who was the number 16th guy on my big board, and that's huge value because if KCP doesn't work out at the point guard position, you got a guy that could become that type of player in the future.
KPJ.
Yeah, KPJ. I always get him wrong. It's a really good fit. And secondly, Tari East and Jabari Smith bring the defense that team needed, right? Because Jalen Green's not a great defender. KPJ's not a great defender. But these two guys can be all NBA defense, first team. They both have those kind of gifts. They both love to play defense. 6'10", 6'8". They got really long and athletic, quick. This completely changes their team. And because of that, also, now you get a secondary scorer moving Jalen Green, and you got my number 1 guy from my last year's draft and the number 1 guy from this year's draft on my big board on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's scary. That is scary. That type of thing doesn't happen when you don't have number 1 picks in either one of those drafts.
Yeah.
That type of thing doesn't usually happen. I think this is going to be a Jason
Jalen
Tatum
Green
type of thing.
Year. I mean, what?
Where he goes
All-Star
3
break, he went insane.
And everybody
he
a few years from now is going to be like,
you think he's not working right now to go
we
even
fucked
crazy? Jason's going to end up big.
It's okay. It's okay. Prove me wrong. But yeah. That was the guy that should have been a number 1 pick this year. And Houston Rockets. This could be, one of the greatest 1-2 punches this team's ever seen in the future. Up there with James Harden and CP3 in about 5 years. This is a team that can win playoffs because now they're a complete basketball team. Because when you have 2 guys that can be all NBA defense, you can always be like a 15th to 16th best defense in the league. And I know they drafted a guy last year as a power forward from he played in overseas at the same place Luka Doncic played, and they drafted him mid first round. He's like a 6'9" forward. So they got a rotational guy to do the same type of thing there. So that's where things get interesting. I really think that they just made themselves a complete basketball team while also adding more offensive punch. This team's got something moving forward, and I like their coach, Skiles. I think he's a very good coach. I think he's somebody you want to stick with and let him rebuild and give him time to, because I feel like he's done a good job from the games I've seen. So Houston Rockets, man, this is you got gold. You got gold given to you in this draft. Yeah. Yeah. My 2 number 1 guys are on the same team. It's going to be easy to see that I was right. In about 5 years, I'll be counting my chips. Thank you very much.
Actually blow these episodes up so that they can go to the eyes of those important in the NBA so they can see that Jason's just great when it comes to this.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a hidden gem for sure.
Oh my gosh. The Rockets are really you got 2 superstars in the future. That's what I think. Yeah. Knocked it out of the park. I can't believe it. I can't believe Orlando passed. All right, you ready to transition to the next team that knocked up? There's 3 100% grades, top A pluses, and this is the last team that's got an A plus, and number 3, and that's the Detroit Pistons, man. I mean, getting Jaden Ivey at 5. Kings are gonna look back at Kings. Always are 1 pick away from making the right choice. They just never can.
Yeah.
Drafting Keegan Murray there was the wrong choice, and it's gonna be Marvin Bagley, like where you chose Marvin Bagley before Luka. I don't think Jaden Ivey's gonna be the next Luka, but Jaden Ivey's pretty special, and passing on him there just was stupid. But there's things the Kings do, and I feel bad for Kings fans. So, Jaden Ivey is like peanut butter and jelly with Cade Cunningham. I feel like I made this comparison with pre-lottery where I projected him to go to the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons probably threw a pizza party like right after the Sacramento Kings pick. Everybody's getting raises, everybody's getting bonuses. Like, we cannot believe that he fell to us, because he's peanut butter and jelly with Cade, because everything Cade does, and Cade's weakness is Jaden Ivey fills like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? Because Jaden Ivey is the great athlete that can just get to the rim whenever he wants and put pressure at the rim that Cade Cunningham just can't. He doesn't have the athletic gifts like that. But Jaden Ivey's weaknesses is basketball IQ, like really understand situations. Cade Cunningham's probably has the highest basketball IQ in the past 2 years out of all the drafts. Him coming out of college, listening to him talk about basketball was like listening to a really high tier basketball IQ guy. So he's going to bring that to the game for the next 10 to 15 years. So, that paired with Jaden Ivey's just so electric. The perimeter shot creation for himself. That's something that Cade's not. Cade's like an efficient point guard. You know what I mean? Just really efficient. Doesn't have the wiggle that Ivey has, and the perimeter shot creation for deep 3-point range potential that Jaden Ivey has. And these two guys are going to be a 1-2 punch that's going to stare crap out of teams. And they also did a really good thing. They traded for Jalen Duran at the 13th pick. They chose him. He's a freaky athlete. He's going to be a great lob threat with these two. These two are going to love having him on the floor, lob threat. Going to be a great interior defender. Compared him to DeAndre Jordan, worst case scenario. That's a good fit with great guards. And they did really well with that. And they also did really well with their second-round draft pick. At 36, they drafted Gabriel Procida. Many people now know him. He's from Italy. He was around that range. I think I had him at like 32, 33 on my big board. But what I really like about him is I compared him to Kyle Korver, but a little bit more athletic. But like, the man shoots 42% from the 3-point line in Italy at like 20 or 19, 6'7". He's just shooting forms like Korver as well. So you get a shooter that the team needs shooting. 6'7", so he's one of those guys that could be a 2 guard or he can be a 3 guard. He's going to be a rotational piece, you know what I mean? But rotational 2-3 guard, where you're getting a high tier shooter, is a really good fit with all these guard greatness between him and Ivey and Cade. So I'm glad that they also weren't like, oh, we're gonna pass on Ivey so we can give Killian Hayes another year to prove himself. Killian Hayes hasn't showed me anything. Right? Killian Hayes probably was a bust. So Killian Hayes can go be on your bench because, let the show start with Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. So Detroit Pistons, usually they suck at drafting. Past 2 years, killed it. Sadiq Bey at the 4 position. It's a good fit. I really like what Detroit Pistons did.
Okay. I'm learning. I'm just learning. Look, I don't know. I'm learning.
All right. All right. The number 4th team on the draft gods, the draft winners, is a team that made it on the list last year. So, they're doing a good job drafting. Their GM's doing a good job. This is a team that's got a good, bright future. They got a 95 on this year's draft, and it's the Charlotte Hornets, the team that traded Jalen Duran to the Pistons. And for that, they got a first next year and 4 future second-round draft picks, which is ridiculous. That's a lot of value for the 13th pick. And they were really strategic with it because Mark Williams and Jalen Duran were on the board between 13 and 15. So what they did is they said chess, not checkers. The 14th pick can't choose. Probably had a center on his team. I forget who it was. Oh, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They weren't going to choose a center. They have like Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Why would the Cavs ever choose a center, right? So they said, we like Jalen Duran and Mark Williams. They're both on the board. We trade away Jalen Duran, and 2 picks later, the guy we want, Mark Williams, is still going to be there, right? So that was a really good chess move from the GM from the Charlotte Hornets, and Mark Williams I love. He's the 11th guy on my big board, 7'2". The man has future post potential because of size and athletic gifts paired with his body. But at the very least, you're getting a high tier shot blocker at the rim. A guy I think is better than Jalen Duran. A good lob threat, a good rebounder, just a rim runner at that size, good athletic gifts. It's going to be a great pairing with LaMelo and the guards they have. And at 40, they drafted Bryce McGowns, who is around 28 on my big board. And I said, oh, in the late 20s, late first round, this is a boom or bust shooting guard if you want to take a shot on a future all-star or a bench player. And that's Bryce McGowns, man. 6'6", athletic, can really shot create for himself, but he just doesn't do it in an efficient manner yet. But he's going to get given time. That's a real high upside pick of the second round. And Josh Manon, a big for Memphis. He was pretty okay. That's why it's not 100% because I'm not in love with Josh Manon. But the 45th in the pick in the 45th pick in the draft is not going to change your franchise. So Charlotte Hornets did a really good job. They've been putting drafts together over the past few years, doing a really good job.
Yeah, I mean they have to after they gave Gordon Hayward all that money.
Yeah,
they've
done a really good job, man.
Yeah,
LaMelo Ball's gonna have a really good team 3 years from now. LaMelo probably will be a Charlotte Hornet for life if the GM keeps on showing that he can be good like this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Charlotte Hornets play, man. I'm excited for Summer League. I want to see these guys, man, in action.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And the next one, the last winner of the draft, is the New York Knicks. I mean, how can you not be the winner of a draft when you trade your 11th pick for 3 future first-round draft picks in a trade that moves Kemba Walker as well?
I'm gonna stop you right there, Jay, because all I see is, what is the New York Knicks doing? Stephen A. face palming. What the hell? They don't have nothing, And so, I don't. You tell me. You say it's good. Everybody else saying it's terrible.
When you get 3 future first-round draft picks, where one of them involves a Detroit Pistons pick for the 11th pick in the draft that turned into a boom or bust guy, and Osman Deng, I'd say you did well. Right? I mean, there's not like there was any superstar that fell to 11. So 3 future first, that's a huge trade for the Knicks. That's a huge, you never see something like that happen for the 11th pick. And the only other pick they had was at 42, Trevor Keels from Duke. He's going to be okay. He's probably going to be a bench 2 guard. I don't really see anything special from it, but give him a 94%. They did really well.
Huh. Okay.
All right.
Who needs to fire their GMs?
Oh, the same old. And this is what this draft is, man. I really feel like the same old really screwed up. Especially like 2 teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, how in the world do you have the 22nd and 26th pick in the draft and not choose a wing that can guard? That's like by far your glaring weakness. And they did that. They outdid themselves. What they did is 22, they drafted Walker Kessler, 7'1" center from Auburn, who's really tight hip, and all he does is shot block at the rim and have potential shooting 3-point shots. He shoots 30% in college. I'm saying the potential's there. So you drafted a player at 22 to be the backup to the best player on your team, and at 26 they did a better job. They just said, "Hey, we just drafted our backup center. Let's choose the second best player position, Wendell Moore. I like Wendell Moore. I had him like 32. I liked him, but he's 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan. What do you think he's gonna be playing? Small forward? No, that's a 2 guard.
Yeah."
And then they had at 48, they had Kendall Brown, who's a 6'7", 6'10" wingspan, small forward from Baylor. That's a 3-and-D guy that would have been a perfect fit, but they traded him to Indiana. They had him in his hands.
Yeah.
Like, you had 2 picks there, and they should have both been wing defenders. I don't care if it's power forward, small forward, needs to be wing defenders. They need 3-and-D players. But the Minnesota Timberwolves GM outdid himself with stupidness. They get a 10%. It's not even F. It is go back. It is like if somebody said, "Oh, we want you to write a research paper about the color blue," and I come in there say, I really love the color orange. This is my research paper about color orange. Like you get a 10%, the teacher says, read the paper again. Like that's how stupid this was. Like, how did this even happen? It's something that only the Minnesota Timberwolves could pull off. And this is a great example of stupid organizations, even when they get lucky and have great talent. This is an example of non-winning teams do non-winning things, right? This is you blow up the whole front office. Everybody has to move, and you may like Timberwolves fans. I'm sorry to break it to you, but petitions should be held for that owner's head because like, you guys are not gonna. You could have Cat and Anthony Edwards, but if you have an owner that does such a terrible job that influences and negatively influences like he does, it's hard to win. And this is just I feel bad for Minnesota Timberwolves fans. Enjoy watching Cat and Ant, and then they'll probably turn to Donovan Mitchell and him wanting to leave in the future because the team just doesn't know how to build. It's just some teams doesn't know basketball, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Literally, it would have been a challenge to do what they did, but they did it, and it's amazing how they escaped the 26th pick in the draft without some 3-and-D wings is beyond me.
Good old Timberwolves.
I know. Like, I would have been at least a little bit nice with like a 6'9" guy like shoot a 3-point shot. There's like a gazillion of them in the draft. Yeah. All right, we're gonna go back to another team that sadly is just past its prime when it comes to NBA drafts. The coaching probably should stay, but Spurs, man, number 2. How could leave it to the Spurs to draft the best role player in the draft at number 9? I mean, dear goodness, it's Jeremy Sohan's Draymond Green like. You know what I mean? Gifted defensively. Special guy. He's probably going to be in the league for 10 years. Probably after 8 years is going to leave and go be a good role player in a team that actually has talent to win championships. And yes, that's a shot at UGM. Number 20, they draft Malachi Branham, 6'5" guy with a 6'10" wingspan from Ohio State. A 2 guard where they have Lottie Walker. They drafted Joshua Primo, 14th pick in the draft. So they have 3 2 guards now that have all been borderline lottery picks, top 20 picks of the draft. Congratulations, you suck at drafting. And 25, they outdid themselves. Yes, they did. 6'4", 6'9" wingspan, Blake Wesley. What is Blake Wesley? A point guard in the NBA. Who's the best player on your team? DeJounte Murray. Congratulations, you suck at drafting. Oh, God. I mean, this is that guy for the Spurs had a really good run from 1995. That front office had a really good run from 1995 to 2010. Since then, downhill. Look, it's not like they haven't drafted players that aren't good role players on teams. They just don't draft players that have star potential, that have shot creation potential, that can actually be the stars that you build these role players around. And it's just the reality of the draft. They got lucky that DeJounte Murray developed it. DeJounte Murray has had like 8 years to develop into what he is today because they had no competition for him, right? They got lucky that he developed into this. Mm-hmm. I mean, this team just doesn't know how to draft to actually have guys with star potential. At 9, there were plenty of guys on the board that were much better picks that you could have drafted. A guy like Tari Eason at 9, that would have been so much better. They just, it's a front office that just doesn't know how to build anymore. Doesn't know how, even though the head coach and the coaching staff is still elite, it's just that the way that they view basketball and the players they choose, they just don't know how to build around real star players that have guys that have a high upside, and you have to take shots. And this franchise is just not willing to take shots. All they draft is safe draft picks with not high upside. And this is the Spurs, man. They get a 40%. Congratulations, you're below F. You suck.
Damn.
That whole front office needs fired. All of them.
So I think we said this last year, right? was that
Yes.
we've came to know the Spurs as like this storied organization who's like, oh, we pick the players who you don't think are gonna be great, and then they turn out to be great. They've gotten so into that they're like, oh, this guy is showing a little bit of potential, 10%. I bet we can unlock 100% of that, and then it doesn't
Yeah.
work out. I think that they need to reevaluate their drafting strategy because you found Manu from great. Yeah, you found Kawhi. Great.
15 years ago. 10 years to 12 years ago.
The NBA has evolved now. You have to catch up with the times. There are certain things that you should look for in a player and not just he's a diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what they're looking for every year. A diamond in the rough.
Yeah. They don't know how to draft. It's plain and simple. They're top 5 worst drafters in the league, and it's sad because Popovich has to make that. I mean, the fact that they have the 9th pick in the draft of that roster is a testament to what Greg Popovich is. Because dear goodness, that's great coaching. That's what that is. That's the only reason why you don't have a top 3 pick every year is Greg Popovich. And I think when you have a great coach like that, I guess maybe sometimes you could take him for granted.
Because he's been able to maximize the talent every year. So they're like, we give him whatever he wants. He's gonna make it a winning season. I'm like, but when he retires, what do you have left? It's coming soon. This man's 97 years old. I'm kidding.
No, you're not wrong. There's a reason why he stepped down from the Olympic team. He's probably got 2 years max. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Duncan's the next guy.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. All right, you ready to transition?
Yeah.
This is sad for me because usually I love this GM. It's the Denver Nuggets a 3. I mean, so, it's surprising because they do a great job usually, but drafting Christian Braun, that guy's not a first-round draft pick. They drafted a 21, 6'7" guy, 3-point shooting, borderline NBA athlete, doesn't do anything else. I think he was like the 50s on my big board because he's really slow. So at that point in time, I think they're just trying to choose role players for their team. And, when you try to shoot for guys that you think can be role players, it's like when you have goals. Let's say our podcast goal is to make 30 minutes of content a week. So then we might do like 15 to 25. We'll probably underachieve a little bit. But if our goal is like 100 an hour, then we'll maybe do 45, 30. You know what I mean? Like, when it's kind of like for drafts. When you draft for role players, that guy probably might flame out the league. When you draft trying to find a guy that could be a starter, that guy might be a bench guy. When you draft for a guy that might be a superstar, that might guy just be a good starter or a star. You know what I mean? And Christian Braun is a guy that's really borderline NBA athlete, and I really don't know if he's going to be in the league for more than 4 years because of that. That's where I'm like, I don't think that was the worst first round. Then they followed it up with another terrible pick with Peyton Watson, who's not an NBA guard. And secondly, they have the Sean Bones Highlands, the Morris guy, Will Barton, Jamal Murray. Why are you drafting guards at the 30th pick in the draft? You should be drafting forwards, power forwards. And that was a terrible draft choice. He might not even be on the team 3 years from now. And, the best pick they had was Ismail Kamagate, 46th pick in the draft, 7-footer. He was 30-something on my big board. By far the best thing they did in the draft. I mean, he might be the best player out of this draft class in the next 4 years. 7 foot from France, athletic, could be Nikola Jovic's backup for a few years, and this is a wasted draft. This is a blimp in the radar for a great GM where they did a terrible job. They get a 50.
Yeah, I mean they had it last year. Oh, Bull. Let's not use this guy.
Yeah, it's.
That's gonna come back to bite him. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, you ready to transition? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say for Denver Nuggets fan, I'm just gonna do it for us. We're gonna hang our head in shame.
Hey, you got a great team next year, so this team's ready to win, right now. So that's something you're gonna be happy about. Probably a top 4 team in the West next
Jamal
year.
Murray coming back. Let's go.
Yep, they have really good. They have a lot of good guards there, man. All right, you ready to transition?
Yeah.
All right, number 4. I got to take a shot at the hometown team,
Ooh.
Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, at the 14th pick, you were in the lottery, and the Cavs. You may be a winning team right now, but you are so young that drafting a guy who's just only going to be doesn't get any better, doesn't have any higher potential than what he is, isn't going to overly improve, is not the right fit. And Ochai Abaja is a 23-year-old guy that has nothing other than being a 3-and-D guy at 6'6". So, I mean, even roster wise, like, what is he going to play other than 2 guard? Like, you guys have a big lineup at small forward position. You have Isaac Okoro. I don't think he's going to be the backup small forward over him. So you literally only drafted a 3-and-D backup 2 guard with no high upside. Because if somebody's going to be on the bench, I'd rather have a guy with some high upside coming off the bench that in a few years can develop into something, rather than just having a guy off the bench that is just going to be on the bench for the rest of his career because he's never going to be better than Karis LeVert. Like, it's not even ever going to be close. He doesn't have near the upside. So he just wasn't the right kind of player there. Because he's a senior out of Kansas. All he does is come off ball screens and attack closeouts and shoot the 3-point shot at 6'6" and guard. That's Wesley Matthews. He was like the 26th, 25th, 24th guy on my big board, so it was a reach for that too. There was just so many guys there that had real high upside. Again, you had the lottery pick. That's where you choose somebody with some upside that can grow with the team if he's going to be a bench player anyway. You know what I mean? And getting a bench shooting guard costs about $3 to $4 million in the NBA. I mean, Wesley Matthews probably cost $4 million. Like it just wasn't worth it. And at the 39th pick, it wasn't that terrible. I think the 45th guy on my big board, Khalif Diop, is the center who's a developmental raw center at the 39th pick. 49th pick, Isaiah Mobley. I think they just drafted him because he's Evan Mobley's brother. I don't think he's going to ever be an NBA player. I didn't understand that one. Luke Travers from Perth. That's a country, Perth. I think. I don't know. This guy wasn't on my big board. He wasn't on anything. So, they get a 55. It was really bad. And, it's sad. I'm a Cavs fan. It just wasn't the right choice at 14.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The 5th team on this list it's surprising. It was either them or the Sacramento Kings for Keegan Murray at 4, but they didn't really have any other picks, and this one I just felt was egregious. 24th pick was the Bucks. The Bucks are the 5th worst draft on my draft. Maron Beauchamp. So Maron Beauchamp is a 6'6" G League guy, 19 years old, who can defend and is really athletic, but he shoots 25% from the 3-point line, 65% from the free throw line. That doesn't really sound like a 2-guard that fits with Giannis. Because in the future, his shot looks really broken, and he has no skill. It's not like he's a mid-range guy. Like, he literally has no skill. It's very rare that somebody goes from no skill to skilled 5 to 10 years from now in the NBA. He's kind of like Keon Johnson from last year's draft, where the intrigue was 48-inch vertical, 6'5", but had no skill. There were so many 3-point shooters in this draft, like an Ochai Abaja. I know he got drafted at 14, but there's like a gazillion of those guys, like a Gabriel Procida that went at 36 for the Detroit Pistons. Like, there's like 5 to 10 guys that can be 3-point shooters at the very least day one for you for the Bucks. And even a guy like Jaden Hardy, who went in like the early second round, who's a 6'4" shot creator for himself, has high upside. That's what they needed. They need somebody who's able to become a shot creator on the bench, because they need a 4th guy that can shot create for himself on that team. And Maron Beauchamp's 5 years away from being that, maybe. I mean, he might flame out the league. It's a bust pick. 58th pick, Hugo Besson. He was like a 50th on my big board. He might stick on the bench as a point guard. He does have some skill. He probably can shoot off the bench. He might get some minutes. I don't really know. It's going to be borderline because this team's trying to win a championship. So that I just don't. Marion Beauchamp is just one, not a first round draft pick. Two, doesn't really fit what your team needs, even if he develops. Because him developing is probably a 30% standstill 3-point shooter and a 70%, 75% from the free throw line, and a guy that can be a standstill 3-point shooter and attack closeouts and be athletic. It's just not anything that you would draft, and I just disagree with this so much. He's kind of like Gerald Green. You remember Gerald Green? Really athletic, but had no skill and just bounced around off benches for a while. He's kind of like that, where it's just like egregiously no skill. So I don't agree with that pick. He might be the least skilled two guard in the draft.
They're like, oh, he can jump high.
Yeah,
hey.
That's it.
Who knows?
You have a guy that could be in the slam dunk contest that nobody will ever remember. Yeah.
Fair. The
All
shade.
Right. You ready to... That's what we do here.
Yeah.
We should change this to the shade throwing podcast.
Yeah, with the shade room basketball.
Yeah. Also, I'd give them a 58 for this. 58 as a grade, just below D. All right, let's move on before any jokes come from that.
Yeah.
The three players that got drafted to the best positions. Number one is Nikola Jovic. I mean, he was the fifth guy on my big board. He went 27th on the Miami Heat. He went to a great organization that's great at player development. His skill set is really going to be, whatever the maximum of him as a player is will be developed in Miami. They do a great job of that. Passing that he has in his game is going to be valued there. They're going to be able to use him, and I really love that fit. Anything you want to say about that?
I like that fit too. I like the Miami Heat going forward. I think they're like, we got to get better. We lost to the Celtics. The East is ours. We got to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that pick. The second guy is a surprising one, AJ Griffin. So he was outside of my lottery on my big board, but this is a perfect fit because, one, all you have to do is beat out Kevin Huerter, and you can kind of be the two guard moving forward in the future. And his potential was, there's like a 5% chance that he becomes Klay Thompson. Not every team is going to be able to use this guy the right way, but they're come from the Warriors, right? The GM is from the Warriors, so they'll be able to use him off ball, coming off ball screens and stuff like that. He's going to be a system fit from that sense, and he's going to have the Atlanta Hawks are so offensively predicated that he's going to get enough shots to develop his game. He's going to know space to develop his game. He's going to get enough time to develop his game because they want all the guys that could shoot on the floor. So, he's, as long as he could be able to beat up Kevin Huerter, he's going to be able to have the time and the fit to really maximize whatever his best version of himself is. And not every team, like he would get drafted to the Knicks, having to fight RJ Barrett for minutes, trying to fight Cam Reddish for minutes. That would have been a really tough fit. There's some teams in the lottery that would have been like, this guy may never reach his potential, but this is a fit where he's going to, whatever the best version of AJ Griffin is what is going to be. Anything you want to say about that?
No.
Okay. And the next one is Osman Deng from Oklahoma City Thunder. He's very raw. Very, very raw. We're not going to be able to grade this pick accurately until 4 years from now, but the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't going to win until 4 years from now. So not every team that would have been in the lottery would have been able to give him the time that he needs to develop, and this is a perfect fit for him. And you trade three first-round draft picks for somebody, you're going to give him chances to develop. So, it's one of those things where congratulations, Osman Day, you got in a perfect place. All right. Anything you want to say about that?
I thought he was going to the Cavs.
Yeah, I thought so too. But, OKC really has a vision there. I'm excited to see that moving forward, really, genuinely. All right, you ready to
Yeah.
transition? The last segment is the three players in the worst position. The first one is Benedict Mathurin, sixth pick in the draft. He went to Indiana. That's gonna be a tough fit unless Tyrese Halliburton becomes the point guard of the future. Because even if it is, because they got Tyrese Halliburton, they got Malcolm Brogdon, they got Buddy Hield, they got Chris Duarte. That's a lot because he's 6'6", and everybody I named is either 6'6" or below that are all two guards / small forwards for that team. And it's just going to be hard for him to get the minutes and the development that he would usually have as a six pick of the draft. So that's where the Pacers, I don't think they really did a good job with this draft pick. So I feel bad for Benedict Mathurin because he was a number 1 2 guard in my big board. It's just, you know, it's a lot of guards. It's not. He's probably not going to have more than 20 minutes per game. In most teams, if he would have went to Portland, he probably would have had 25, 30. Like it's going to be hard to develop there. So, I feel bad for him. All right, the next two are rapid fire.
Oh,
go ahead.
I just want to say something real quick about Benedict Mathurin. He also put a large target on the Indiana Pacers back by his comments about LeBron James.
Oh my god!
So I just, when you get
post him, post him. Yeah, they're gonna get a 50 ball.
They're gonna get a 50 ball. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Barbecue chicken alert.
Right. Just, okay.
He's gonna get switched one time on LeBron James, and LeBron's gonna be like, he's either gonna dunk on him or is gonna be bodied in the post. Yeah.
Welcome to the NBA, young man.
You just don't. It's like calling out Michael Jordan, like 1998. Like, what are you thinking, my guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Iverson crossed Michael Jordan, so.
Yeah, I guess so. But he's not Allen Iverson, dear God.
No.
Yeah, he would have been the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to go to the next two guys?
Yeah, but I do like his mentality. But yeah. Nobody's better than me. You got to have that kind of thought process.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. All right, the next two guys in this draft are. We're going to go over them both because they're from the same team, and we've already kind of talked about them. It's Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham. I mean, for Blake Wesley, he's a guy that really needs development and time to develop his efficiency because he really has all-star guard potential. It's just, I think he should have went back to college. I think if another year, he could have been a lottery pick. But it's sad that he has to play behind DeJounte Murray. That's just not going to be good for him development-wise. And Malachi Branham for the same situation. I mean, they have 3 guys they drafted the top 20 at the same spot. It's going to be hard for him to develop there. So, those are the next 2 guys. And I want to say one quick thing before we wrap it up. A lot of people talk about generational prospects and special prospects, and that term gets thrown out a lot. Next year's the real generational prospect. Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick in next year's draft, and he's a generational prospect. He's everything that everybody wants Chet Holmgren to be, but he's 7'3". He's basically a 7'3" Brandon Ingram. Like, he moves like Brandon Ingram, 7'3", and he actually has shot creation and like moves from the perimeter. That's the guy that's going to be a generational prospect. So everybody Google him. You're going to be like, dear God, that is. Yeah, whoever there's going to be teams tanking for him. Teams when great prospects come around like this, teams tank religiously. Grant Hill coming out, it was the race for Grant Hill. And Isaiah Thomas wasn't playing on the Pistons that much. They were resting him because they were trying to get the Grant Hill's sweepstakes. Like, it's going to be the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes because that guy is ridiculous. That guy can be the greatest player in the NBA in 10 years, legitimately. He has that kind of upside. It's ridiculous. 7'3", KD like legitimately KD like. Chet's not KD like. Everything everybody wanted Chet Holmgren to be is what he is, and he does it at 7'3". It's ridiculous. All it takes is about 3 seconds of watching him on YouTube, and you'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah. So you gotta drop that link to me so I can look at it.
Yeah. you're gonna be like, oh my god, like everybody else. Yeah, the draft starts at number 2. I don't care if this Philadelphia 76ers get the first pick of the draft; they're drafting him. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Timberwolves get the first pick of the draft; they're drafting him. It doesn't. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, fun. All right. Well, it was fun doing the draft. It's gonna be fun to watch these guys grow. I can't see to where everybody proves me wrong or proves me right or stuff like that. I don't wish anything bad on anybody. If I disagreed with some people and don't like to coming out of the draft, prove me wrong, please. I'm excited. I don't want to ever. That I'm not petty to the point in time of wishing bad things on the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be fun to do it next year, and we'll be moving on to free agency and stuff like that, talking about offseason stuff. It's gonna be fun.
Alrighty, so this is the end. My name is Chris Muhammad.
I'm Jason Collins,
and we are the Basketball Addicts. Peace.
Out.